Welcome back to episode 14 of Yarn Talks with Lizzy Knits. My name's Erin Gates. I'm the designer behind Lizzy Knits and owner of Three Birds Yarn Studio. All right, so I've got a few things I want to show you this morning. Actually, I have two things tonight. I feel like I say this all the time, like, oh, it's gonna be a short one, like 50 minutes later. But I only have two things specifically that I want to feature today. First one, I want to give you a sneak peek at a new shawl I'm working on. And if you've been following me on Instagram, it's really colorful and rainbowy and lots of it's mostly yellow with pops of other colors. I'll show you that in a minute. But I've been doing some sneak peeks on Instagram. And then the other thing I want to show you this morning is, and this is a little different. I want to show you a stitch tutorial because I've been working a lot with twisted stitches over here, and let's talk twisted stitches, right leaning and left leaning, and how to get them to be uniform looking. So I'll show you that second, and I'll show what I'm talking about with sometimes your twisted stitches come out looking a little sloppy or uneven, especially on the left twist. So I have a tip to get them to both look nice and tight and get really clean, straight edges on the twisted stitches. Okay, so let's, I got my shawl here and lots of coffee. And okay, so this shawl I'm working on I'm using all Malabrigo Rios, and I've got 5 colors, and I just added this 5th and final color. This is Rios in Ivy. So I really just want to show you this color. Look at all the variegated tones. This is such a pretty one. And honestly, out of the 5 colors, this one's my favorite. I love green yarn, and I'm actually, I don't know. Okay, I'll show you the shawl because there's a main color. There's actually 2 main colors, but I almost wish that I would have made the green the main color because I like it so much, but I use yellow. So here we go. Let me just show you. Okay, here we go. It's a kite shawl. I'm getting to the end, so it's quite large at this point. So here's what I mean about the main color. It's the ivory. So that is going to be held throughout the entire shawl. So you're always working with 2 colors. But the secondary color is the one you change. But so the ivory is always the background in every section. But then you change the secondary color. But you can see these sections, they're all the same size. Actually, I take that back. I doubled up sections for the starting because this always gets lost. So I did a double length here because if you'd only have this much shawl and then do a color change. So that's, I don't know. I just thought, and for the way the yarn and yardage usage, that sounds weird, worked out, I doubled up here. But then every section after this is this big, okay, that big there, and now this one will be the green. So I've been having a lot of fun with this one. So this is what I've been working on. So I started this maybe 3 weeks ago, but I had to take a break. I cut my finger really bad over a week ago, and I had it in a splint, so I had to take a week off in knitting, which was driving me crazy because I'm kind of a compulsive knitter and it's just what I do. So it was really weird. Anyways, I couldn't do anything. So now back to it, and I could move my hand. So that was not fun. All right, so okay. I'll show you again. It's a kite shawl. All right, and I gotta admit I've made plenty of kite shawls in the past. I understand how they work. It's, they're a little different because there's different, there's kind of checkpoints with kite shawls in the way you shape it. And a lot of it has to do with shifting the center spine. So I've made a bunch of these in the past, but I've never written one. So I'm actually really excited. So I've been having so much fun because it's my first kite shawl design. And I swear it will not be my last, because I love the shape of these, because I made triangle shawls in the past, and if you're very familiar with shawl making, triangle shawls could mean a whole range of shapes. Like we're set in, it's always with, when you're making triangle shawls, it's how you do your decreases. So you can make big wide ones where the center spine is where you decrease to, and you also decrease on the end. So if you decrease increase, because we start small and branch out. If you increase 4 stitches on every other row, that shawl is going to expand very quickly, okay? I've also made shawls that don't have a center spine, and every other row, you just increase 1. So we start at this little corner, and then it becomes asymmetrical. So if you just start on one side and you increase like over here, this part will start growing as you work up, but this one stays the same. And you have a slow growing triangle shawl. And I really like those kind. This one is increasing to every other row. I think about it. This one's a little more complex because, let's flip this around. And I tell you, it took me a long time to wrap my head around construction of a kite shawl. so I don't want to fall off the needles. Like you see the center spine here? Even though it looks like we're actually decreasing on the center spine, but increasing on the edges when you're on the flip side. So when you're working the right side, the right side was the one with the design facing, the one with the design on it, if you don't know. Even though it looks like, there's a lot of movement going on here with stitch count or increasing, there's actually not. You are doing yarn, again, let's say I'm working a right side row. I do yarn overs, 1 on each end. So that would be a +2, increase 2. But then in the center, I decrease by 2. This is all in the same row. So really a right side row, even though you're kind of doing a lot, it's a wash. The decrease by 2 in the middle, it cancels out the 2 increases that you do. So actually your stitch count stays the same. You do this to get this shaping, where it looks kind of a chevron. This is what shapes the shawl. So stitch count is the same, but you're increasing and decreasing all within the same row. So the right side row, stitch count is the same. Then when you flip it and put it on, then we're working the wrong side. Ooh, that kind of looks pretty too. You can see a lot more of like the contrasting colors when you're on the reverse side. Okay, so if you're working a wrong side row, this is where the 2 increased stitches come in. So you do nothing when you come to the center spine. You just kind of slip the stitch marker, nothing here on the wrong side, but you are doing a yarn over again on each side. So basically yarn over is on every beginning of row and end. But when you're on the front side of your work, it cancels out. When you're on the back side of your work, that's when the yarn overs stay and we're not canceling them out. So you're increasing 2 stitches only on the wrong side. You still with me? I'm running through them like, I know it makes sense. I've got it written down the pattern. So that's kite shawl. So I really like how it turns out though, because it's good for shaping. And to decrease 2 in the center, you use it's a slip 1, knit 2 together, and then pass that slip stitch over. So it makes this cool little like left leaning design thing in the center. There, the little pass stitches, that's the center spine all the way down. So yeah, then it changes. This is actually kite shawls are a little more difficult. Okay, so this is like the first half of the shawl. That slow increase. Okay. Then I'm at the scene. Then at some point, you're gonna have to stop increasing, okay? Like, you can't have a shawl that's gonna be this way. Also, it'll be incredibly long. So at some point, because think about it, well, you're gonna wear the shawl sideways, like, so it'll actually be like around you, kind of like this. I like this. So at some point, you have to have that bottom point of the triangle. That's where, should I flip around? I'll show you, let me get to it, where at some point, you, on the reverse side, you start only increasing by, no, they will cancel each other out, but the center spine will start shifting. I'm not explaining this correctly. Let me show you. This, I'm knitting, but now I stopped increasing on one of the sides, and then it cancels out. All right, so we're still doing yarn overs. I'm sorry, I'm gonna quit explaining it. We're still doing yarn overs, but at the end, the stitch count, the increases and decreases cancel each other out, but when you're still shifting that center spine, every time the stitch marker is going to be shifting a little more towards the left. So we had, you know, all the way in the first portion of the shawl, there's an equal amount of stitches on each side of the spine. Now it's gonna shift. That stitch marker is gonna start moving. So one of the sides is gonna start getting really long and this one will get short, but it'll all be the same stitch count per row. And at the end, it'll bind off into when that spine gets all the way to the end, then we bind off and you'll have a nice straight edge. Got it. That was a tough one to explain. Like, I understand it, I designed it, but it's hard to explain. So hopefully that makes sense. Also, pattern will walk you through everything. And then I did like a big section break when we get to this point, like, okay, from here on out, it won't be the same. You're gonna be doing things a little different and your center spine will shift. All right, I'm excited. I am getting near the end. So we've got, how many sections? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm on section 6, 7, 8. I have 8 sections total. Can do it. So I'll be working on this probably throughout next week, and then I'm going to put a tester call out as soon as we can. It takes 5 colors of worsted weight. I'm using Rio's. Worsted will be a good sub, or washed or just any other worsted weight. When you can get gauge, go for it. Although for shawls, like, well, always check gauge. Always check gauge. And last thing about this shawl though, I'm gonna show you the texture, okay? It's the same stitch combination. It's 4 rows. It's knit, 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 purl. There's literally nothing else. It's 3 rows of knitting, 1 row of purling, and it's four rows. You do 2 rows in one color, then 2 rows in the second color, and then just keep repeating and repeating. So in the end, you end up with these little, like, it's mostly stuck in that stitch in the back, but with a raised garter stitch. So it's very textured. You see, it's like all these garter stitch ridges are raised, and it makes it like really like bouncy. This is very stretchy and cozy, and it's kind of fun to have. I like the stripes. I really like the stripes where it changes colors. So, but as one last thing I did just as I was writing this, just to like spice it up a little bit, is I changed, so the yellow sections, we'll call it main color. Well, Ivory's main color, but I guess they both are. On the yellow sections here, the raised stripes are the contrasting color, but then when I shuffled in some of these, like a blue section, a pink section, and a green section, I put the ivory as the raised stripes for the garter stitches. So it kind of just kind of gives a cool effect. So I just changed which one's like in the foreground, and it kind of like, depending the way you look at it, you can see like different colors are highlighted. So I really like it. That's about, yeah, kite shawl overview. I'm so sorry if I confuse you. It's a little hard to explain, but I got it. It's a little hard to, yeah, there's a lot of moving parts with this type of design. And the key is though, and I wrote this in the pattern, a removable stitch marker, because every right side row, I say knit to 2 stitches before the stitch marker, because the center combination is actually worked over 3 stitches. So those would be those 3, but I got a stitch marker in there. So what I do, I have 2 stitches before the stitch marker. I pop off the stitch marker. I usually hold it between my teeth. And then I work over the 3 stitches. And then I put the stitch marker back on. So you're actually physically moving the center every right side row. And that's what causes it to shift at the end. That spine is always, is gonna start leaning towards the left, and then the rows will become uneven. So it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. I did like to see where I got to the section break, where I got to the point and we stopped shaping it evenly. Now we shape it like a little unevenly, and now the spine is moving. So it's really cool. I can't wait to see it done. I'm getting there. This has been fun, but honestly, it's been a super easy knit because it's just knitting and purling rows. You have to pay attention to like the yarn overs at the beginning and the end, but it's a really simple stitch combination, so it's easy to memorize because every section is the same. You're just changing like which color you use first, but the stitches are exactly the same. So I think it's a kind of a really easy breezy knit, nothing too, and then like through the row, like you don't have to count, there's no texture, there's nothing, it's all, the rows are easy. Also, I love that it's worsted weight because these stitches are going pretty fast. And I use I think I use a 6. So a size 6 for Malabrigo Rio, so it has a nice little, it's kind of bouncy, not too tight. You always want to like go up a couple needle sizes for shawls because you don't want a shawl that fits like a sock. So, we like these all breezy and flowy and drapey and all that good stuff. So, all right. I don't think I have anything more to say about the shawl, except that I kind of just want to finish it at this point. Another thing, I actually just posted a reel on Instagram this morning of when I join a new color, I kind of double knit for like 8 stitches. And then I drop the tail. So then, just a little tip. So then the end, actually you're knitting the tail in, and it's the equivalent of weaving in a tail. So example, let's look at the green color that I just added yesterday. The tail is actually, in because I knit with it. I think I 7 or 8 stitches just so it's nice and secure. And I can now just clip this. It's because I knit it for a couple of stitches, just doubled, and then I dropped it, and then I just kept going with the single working yarn. Look, it's already woven in. I'm just gonna snip that green one right there. Because who hates weaving in ends? Everybody? Pretty sure everybody. But this is a nice quick one when you're adding a color. It's hard when you're like dropping a color, you're still gonna have to weave that tail in. But any little shortcuts or tips or tricks to make things go smoother and quicker, and especially in like the tedious stuff with like weaving in tails. So that's a handy one. All right, and lastly, I'm just talking all how I do shawls. I've got lifelines. You might look at this and be like, there's so many strands. Actually, there used to be more. I wove in some ends at the bottom. These little white, I use some sock yarn. I put lifelines at the end of every section. And I mean, especially when I'm writing it, because I did have to, when I was in the beginning here, I did have to start over because I made my sections too long, and then it wasn't like evenly spaced. It wouldn't carry through to then the final stitch count. So like I had to go back. I made the sections too wide, and I just reworked a little thing, but I didn't have to start from scratch. Like it was kind of nice. So I really do. I have a lifeline because I've been burned before in the past. I have a lifeline at the end of, and you can see it's like that white yarn that's, maybe you can see what, oh, see, you can see it better with the pink. That's just a placeholder. I do it at the end of every section. So if I have to cut back, I can at least go to the start of a section, and it shows me where to put my needles back in. So not too bad. With big projects, like I highly recommend, it may seem unnecessary, and hopefully it is. Hopefully you have zero problems. You're like, wow, I placed all those lifelines for nothing. But if you need them, it's a huge headache saver, maybe save some tears. There's nothing worse than like getting like 75% through a project and having to start over. It's a nightmare. So lifelines, and also if you're curious about lifelines, you're watching this, like, what's a lifeline? I do have another video on this channel where it's strictly about lifelines. So if you're not familiar, I highly recommend watching that one. I'll show you a little more in depth how we place it, and then also how you put your needles back into that point to start at that checkpoint. It's good to think of lifelines as checkpoints. So I love them as section breaks. It's very helpful. And then also the best thing, so I'll have like 8 lifelines at the end of this project. And my favorite thing is once you've gone off, like taking out all of those lifelines, it's so calming. Like, I'm finished. It's the final step. I like it. It's fun. But yeah, it'll definitely, yeah, you gotta have some placeholders. And I do that. I do these even when I'm knitting, not even my own designs. It's like, I just, we make mistakes, or I look and be like, that's just like did a weird cable cross or something. Like, yeah, rip it back, but you don't want to start fresh. That stinks. Okay, I do not have a name for this shawl. I never have names for my projects. The naming does not come easy to me. So I'm still brainstorming on this one, but it's gonna be very colorful. And it's gonna be very large, but not too much longer. I love it. I really love how it's turning out. All right, let's put that back. More progress on this soon. I'm really hope 3 more sections. I'm really hoping to finish it sometime next week. And then I can edit it and go out for testing and all that good stuff. And then I can start something new, which I'm undecided. I might make myself a sweater. Like, I have some patterns I have my eye on. Like, I haven't made a sweater in a while. I think I made one last fall. So maybe it's fun to make a sweater. I'm going on vacation in a couple weeks. So like, I want like an easy sweater. Like nothing like crazy color work charts or anything. Like, I just want like a relaxing thing. We're going to North Carolina with the kids and my family. So like, I just want to sit on the beach and knit. That's all. And collect seashells. So I'm looking forward to that. But I want this shawl, that's kind of my checkpoint. Like, I want it out for testing before we go. Like, wrap this project up, then I can focus on something new. Okay. Next thing. Okay, I'm already at 23 minutes. Holy moly. Talk about my new shawl, so. Okay, sorry about that. I had to break for a sec. All right, the next thing I'm gonna show you is the twisted stitches. So I was working these with, was it my Deco Palm beanie, and I started this hat, but then I didn't finish it. Here, this is the Deco Palm beanie, and it's super bulky. I started a reel about this, but I just need to finish the crown of it. So these are all twisted stitches. Before I begin, if you're new and you're like watching this, you're like, I have no idea what a twisted stitch is. I will show you, but I also have 2 tutorials on this channel if you want to take a look, and I'll really in depth like teach you start to finish how to do it. So twisted stitches, it's worked over 2 stitches, and you're basically, it's like a mock cable knitting, where you kind of you knit them together so one looks like it's crossing in front of the other. It's kind of like a faux cable, but it goes so much quicker. So it looks like a 1/1 cable cross, and this is just, it's so small, like it goes quicker. Yeah, you work them two together. It looks like one's going in the front, either leaning to the left or leaning to the right. So I'm gonna get a little technical here. And this hat takes both left leaning. You can see them. They look, here's slanted that way and slanted that way, and they look the same. Sometimes when you do a left twist, and I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it, but here's a little technical tip. If you've ever done a project that has both right leaning and left leaning, and the left looks a little sloppy compared to the right one. Like when I started doing this years ago, I did it kind of like half of a step, and my left twist doesn't look the same as the right, and it stinks, and you're like, what did I do wrong? Let me show you. I did a swatch here. Okay, and we'll try to look, get up close. These are both left twisted stitches. Okay, I'm gonna hold this just for a sec and see if you can see, which is the, sorry, I think I had it upside down. The difference. With this one, these left twists look nice and tight and a nice straight edge here, okay? That's because I slip both stitches knitwise before doing the left twist. So I'll slip them both onto the right needle, then I put them back on the left needle, and then I do the left twist. If you don't slip them, they kind of look like this. And it looks a little bubbly, a little inconsistent. And it's especially noticeable if you're doing both, if you also have a project with right twists, because right twists come out fine. They do, and they're nice and tight and they look like this. But then if you have then your left twist, like next to it, they look different, and you know, it kind of like stands out a bit. So, and really the difference is subtle. Okay, you might be looking at this like, I see nothing, Erin. But the reason that these look bubbly and inconsistent is because they're twisted. And I know we're doing left twist, a left twist that the stitches are twisted. So I actually mean two different things. Left twist means it's leaning to the left, but then when I say twisted, meaning before you did the left twist combo, the stitch is oriented on your needle the wrong way. That's why I slip them first and I untwist them before doing the left twist combo. So it might be a little confusing, but twisted, look at the base of these stitches. This one, it's crossed over at the base. So the base of these stitches here are tight. That's why it looks like it's bubbling out at the top. These are not twisted and they're nice and straight. Okay, I'm gonna switch the camera real quick. I have another working swatch and I'll show you how not to do it, but then when you do the slip stitches, how it works smoother. Okay, let me switch real quick. Okay, so here is, here's the swatch that I was just showing you if you want to look at it one more time. This one here is how to do it correctly, and this is like the bumpy, doesn't look as neat as this one. So let's work, here's a little just sample here. Let's work both of the twisted stitches. Or the way, this is strictly, right now we're doing left twist, because when you do a right twist, this doesn't really apply. Right twist comes out all right. You don't need to mess with it. It's that left twist that gives us trouble. Let me just get in to the center a little bit. Okay, to do a left twist, and this is before slipping the stitches, and I did it this way for years, and then I realized that there's a way to tidy it up. So it's a 2-stitch combination. You go into the back of the second stitch, knit that one, but leave them on the needle. So I have one, and then I knit into the back of both of them, and now I can take them off the needle. So this is not like a decreased stitch or anything. The steps may seem to be complex, but you're starting with 2 stitches and it produces 2 stitches. So nothing's really changing. It just looks like you switch the order of them. Okay, I want to show you. So this is our new stitch. Look, it's twisted. Do you see how that left leg is coming over the front of it? That's a twisted stitch. We don't want that. I want that stitch in the foreground to be oriented correctly, like nice and straight. We don't want these little bottom of the legs to be crossed. Okay, so let's do, now I'm gonna show you, okay, so that's that one here, and then that would be this here with where it looks inconsistent. So now let's slip the stitches first. Let's do another left twist and slip knitwise. Slip, slip. I didn't knit or anything, and then put them back on the left needle. So all I did was change how they're oriented. And now the left leg is in the front of those two stitches. Okay, and then we do the same thing as the left stitch. They're slipped, but now let's do the left twist. So into the back of the second one, knit it, leave both of these on the left needle, and now we knit into both. Okay, now we have two new stitches here. You can take these two off. All right, and I know it's not, since it's only one row of twisted, it's a lot easier to see when you have like a bunch. But now this, here was the one where it looks like it's twisted. These are not twisted. See how they're all just laying flat and they're sitting next to each other, not one on top of each other. So, okay, that's my technical tip for the day. And it may not seem like much, but sometimes these, I don't know, they kind of get uneven, and I don't know, it bothered me. So if you knit twisted stitches, like, this is a huge help. And here, just for fun, let's do a right twist. The right twist does not naturally come out with twisted stitches. So the right twist is fine, but it's a different process. So you can knit two, instead of going the back, that's for the left, you first knit these two together. Okay, leave them on the left stitch, and then you knit just the front one. Okay, so now we have two new stitches. Take the two off the left needle, and there is a right twist. Okay, and again, it's hard to see when we just have one row of twisted stitches, but if I kept going, it would be nice and straight, and the right twist would look uniform like this one because they don't come out twisted. And FYI, if you're trying to do a vertical stripe of twisted stitches, you'll have to shift it every time. So I just worked over these two, but on my next row, it's almost like it crossed over one. So now I would work over these two, and then because it will travel across your project. And then the next time around, I would do the next two and the next two, and it just keeps shifting because it keeps moving space. All right. Okay, so I hope that cleared up a few things about twisted stitch knitting. Okay, just a little technical tip. Maybe next time I'll find another thing that I can show you a little tip on. I'll have to brainstorm. Or please drop me a comment if you want to see me demonstrate anything specific. I'm totally up for suggestions. It's fun. I like making these little swatches and showing just for teaching purposes. So yeah, that's the twisted stitches. If you would like a further explanation on those, again, they're two separate videos, right twist, left twist. They're on this channel, and I'll show you much slower and talk through it again. But yeah, I think that about wraps it up for today. I think, yeah, it's been nice. It's Friday, and also the kids have a half day today. So I'm like, I gotta make this video before I get another hour before they'll come home. So, and then let's see, Memorial Weekend, and then we have a 4-day week, and then it's summer. I'm so excited. I'm so ready for them to be done with school. Mainly, I'm so tired of packing lunches. Man, I don't know. I feel like I was real creative in a variety of foods a couple months ago, and now it's like sorry. I hadn't been to the store. We just need school to be over. I gave my son 2 sandwiches yesterday. We don't have any food. I'm so bad. We have 4 more days of school. Can we just get through this? Anyways, please tell me someone can relate. But yeah, looking forward to summer, and finally the weather's nice. So, all right, that wraps up episode 14. I hope you enjoy this nice long Memorial Day weekend. All right, thanks so much for watching. Bye.